fellow Tubular gamers! We're back with another video!
Well, it's been a while since we talked about some underrated games, some hidden gems, some under-the-radar picks. And so with that in mind, I thought I would change that. And today, we're going to be talking about some of the most underrated games of the 2020s. Now, there have been a lot, like a lot of great games to release in the 2020s. More great games are coming out now than ever before. And naturally, tons of games are going to get lost in the shuffle. Tons of games are going to get swept under the rug. And there's going to be a ton of games that people have either never heard of or shrimply just never gotten around to. And so today I thought I would put a spotlight on these games, really show them some love. So we're going to be talking about 10 games that I think is actually worth your time. This list is in no particular order, and I've tried to limit each genre to just one game so you have a pretty wide palette here. But as always, I would love to know some underrated games that you all think are worth playing. You can let me know down below. Let's get a discussion going here. I love discovering new games. Hopefully at least one person finds a new favorite in this bunch. And so with that, let's get to the games. I am totally Tubular Jonathan. I hope you're having a tubular day. If you like this kind of video, maybe you should check out the rest of the channel. But as always, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Any support truly does help out the channel. I'm endlessly grateful for you all. Seriously, thank you. Alright, let's get to them. So starting things off, we have an arcade racer. Y'all know I love my racers a ton, and we got Cruisin' Blast, which is arguably the most underrated racing game of the 2020s. There have been plenty of racing games to not get the spotlight, not get the attention that they deserve, and then there's Cruisin' Blast. This is one of the most fun arcade racers I have ever played. No hyperbole. No exaggeration whatsoever. It's actually part of the long-running Cruisin' series that was most popular on the N64 and went dormant for many years, but man, it came back with a bang. This game is absolute insanity. It's one of the most bonkers racing games you could ever find. It's actually based off of the arcade game, but it has a hell of a lot more content than the arcade game, and it's so much fun. There's so many different vehicles to choose from, and while, you know, there's plenty of cars, this game gets very over the top with wild vehicles such as tanks, UFOs, sharks, unicorns. I can't even make this up. The vehicle selection is great, and what's even better is that they all handle incredibly well. This game has some really tight controls, satisfying drifting, decent physics, and then some of the best tracks you'll find in any arcade racer. They're all one-lap tracks, and they have these crazy spectacles going on throughout them, and it's just complete chaos. The game has an absolutely incredible sense of speed to it as well. Like, you feel like you are moving at a blistering speed pretty much the entire game. And what makes this even better is that the frame rate is rock solid the entire time. The game might only be for the Nintendo Switch, but it actually runs super well. Yeah, the game isn't exactly a looker, but I'll trade graphical prowess for a really solid frame rate. Like, that's the most important thing at the end of the day, and this game nails it. The soundtrack also goes wild. It goes fiendish, honestly. It's so good. There's a fair amount of content here, a few hours of fun, there's some multiplayer, and yeah, it's just some of the most fun I've ever had with a racing game in the last few years. The rubber banding might be shit, and it might be too over the top for some people, but I love this one. So here's one I'm sure some people are going to disagree with, but I have Slitterhead from last year. Yes, the game directed by the former Silent Hill Gravity Rush creator. Slitterhead is one of the most unique, strange games I think I've ever played. It came out last year and didn't really make much of a splash, and got an overall kind of mixed reception, but I really think this is one of those games that years down the line people are going to be ranting and raving about and talking about how it was super underrated and just generally underappreciated. So here I am just jumping the gun on that, and I'm going to tell you that I think this game is pretty good. It certainly is a flawed game, like it totally does have issues. The gameplay and structure can really be all over the place for better and for worse. The game can be super janky at times, and this game has many moments where it feels more experimental than anything else, and the story barely makes any sense, but despite all these issues, man, it really does come together to create such a unique, engaging experience that I found myself actually going all the way through it. It's just such an unconventional, strange game that I found myself really drawn to it. The story, yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You're hunting down the slitterheads. Honestly, every time I say the word slitterhead, I feel like I'm saying a slur or something racist. But no, that's what they're actually called, the slitterheads, and you're hunting them down, and there's a variety of characters that you get to play as here, and when it comes to the combat, it's pretty standard third-person hack-and-slash combat until you realize that you can switch between characters with the little ghost you play as, and all of the characters offer something different. The combat, while it is really rough around the edges, does have its moments where it shines, and there can actually be some fun here. Running around the city and using all of your crazy powers like Spider-Man or something can also be decently fun in this game, but the atmosphere, vibe, and world is what really sold me on it. Like, it's just so unique, it's so out there, it's so strange, and the music is actually really good too. I feel like I've been kinda all over the place while describing this game, but that's really just Slitterhead in a nutshell. It's got some bad moments, it's got some good moments, but damn it, it's weird and there's nothing else like it. And for that alone, especially in today's gaming economy, where it feels like everything plays it so safe, yeah, I do recommend this one. Alright, maybe I'm a bit predictable, but I got Maneater here. Of course I'm gonna have Maneater here. This is one of my favorite games of the 2020s, and there's really never been another game like it. Sure, there have been games with sharks in them. There's even been a few games where you get to play as the sharks, like Jaws Unleashed, but those games do not hold a candle to Maneater. Maneater is also insane. And I mean that in the very best possible ways. Like, you play as a bull shark, getting your revenge on a fisherman for killing your mom, and the plot really is that shrimple. But when it comes to the gameplay, man, this one is just so much fun. It really comes together. Not only does it actually control surprisingly well, but it's really fun to just go around as the shark eating things, and that's really what you're doing most of the time. You are eating everything in sight. While you start out pretty small and you're just eating like little fish, maybe a turtle or something of that size, you quickly grow and become bigger and bigger, and eventually you're eating like other sharks, giant fish, you're taking bites out of whales, and finally you start going for the people. And then the game just becomes total insanity, where you can actually just straight up go up on the beach and start eating people. Forget just the beach, you will like go through neighborhoods jumping around eating people. It is so much fun. It is incredibly satisfying, it's humorous, and it's just some of the most entertaining gameplay you will find in any video game. Like, this game just goes bonkers, and you can start upgrading the shark in these crazy ways where it can shoot out like poison needles, it can become stone, you're blowing up boats, you're taking helicopters down. I love every second of it. It's easily the greatest shark video game ever made. The open world is actually decent in this game as well. There's plenty of activities, collectibles, and it's engaging for the most part. The game won't take you an eternity to beat either. And while the game did have some performance issues when it launched, those have all been ironed out, and I really got no problem recommending this game. It is still such a good time, and it's one of my favorite games of the last few years, easy. So here's one where you might be going, really? You're including one of these games? And that's Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. Yes, it is by Team Ninja. Yes, it is by Square Enix. Yes, it is a Final Fantasy game, but this genuinely is one of the best action RPGs to come out in all of the 2020s. There have been plenty of Souls-likes. Trust me, I've played more than enough of them, but this game actually slaps, and I saw just way too many people write this off as some stupid Souls-like with Final Fantasy attached to it. No, it is so much more, trust me. While it does have plenty, and I really do mean plenty of stupid moments, and it's not the best game Team Ninja has ever made, it still absolutely slaps. The story is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in a game. It takes itself so seriously despite being so unbelievably stupid. And Jack at this point really is just one of the meme kings when it comes to video game protagonists. The ending though is kind of powerful, and I did enjoy where this game went. What I really enjoyed about this game though was the combat. The combat actually just has a ton of depth to it. It has so much going on. There's all these different weapon types with completely different movesets, abilities. You can swap between them on the fly. There is just an ocean of depth when it comes to the combat and how you want to build your character. Like, it is ridiculous how good the combat is. It's some of the best that this studio has ever done, and they made Ninja Gaiden, Neo, Rise of Ronin, etc. But Stranger of Paradise, this shit really is good. Presentation wise, the game is nothing special, but at least it does have some cool Final Fantasy remixes, and you know, seeing everything dark and edgy in the Final Fantasy universe, I think this is pretty cool. The game has plenty of hilarious moments that still live rent-free in my head, and yeah, it's not even close. If you're somebody that enjoys Final Fantasy or Souls-likes and, you know, you're not sick of the genre yet, this is one that really is worth your time. It's one of the very best. And it feels like people, especially at the time, just shit all over it for a variety of reasons. Not that it doesn't deserve some shit, but if you can look past that, I think you got an excellent game here. Alright, so for funsies, I thought I would include a game from 2025, and it's one that immediately is going into the underrated category, and that is Metal Eden. This one came out not too long ago, but I barely saw anybody talk about it. There was just not a lot of hype or marketing behind this one. I actually played through the entire game on stream and quite enjoyed it. If you're unfamiliar with it, it is a Doom Eternal-like, but with a very cyberpunk aesthetic. It was actually developed by the people who made Ruiner, which is also a great game, and this game has some pretty intense action to it, and I found myself actually really enjoying the combat. Yeah, at times it does feel like we have Doom Eternal at home, but I think it also does enough original things to where it does have its own identity. It does, at the very least visually, that's for sure. It also feels a bit different from most FPS games. It has a certain weight to it that I didn't expect, and it took me a second to get used to it, but once I did, oh yeah, everything was firing off on all cylinders, and I was having a great time. There's even these areas where you get into a ball like Metroid and start blowing stuff up. This is enjoyable too. The levels themselves are pretty whatever with some little platforming sprinkled here throughout, but most of the time you're in the combat, and I found it to be engaging, challenging, and most importantly fun. The game looks nice, it has a great soundtrack to it, it's got a good length and pacing, and even though it's only like 5, maybe 6 hours long, I still thought it was pretty enjoyable, and I can easily see this going down as one of the most underrated FPS games of the 2020s. Like, it's actually just really strong. Sure, it's not wildly original and it's not exactly innovative, but I think it's really cool to see a fun, fast boomer shooter that doesn't have pixel art or anything of the sort, doesn't have a retro aesthetic. No, it looks and behaves like a modern game, it feels great, and it's really enjoyable. I recommend this one. So here's one I know people are going to roll their eyes with, and that is new Pokemon Snap. And you might be going, are you seriously including a Pokemon game on a list like this? Really? Are you absolutely kidding me? This is ridiculous. Unsubscribe. Well, 1, please don't unsubscribe, but 2, hear me out for a second. Yes, it is Pokemon. Yes, it's the most profitable media in history. However, new Pokemon Snap, it really didn't get the attention it deserved. Yeah, there was a lot of people who did gas it up, especially at release, but years later, man, I never hear like anybody talk about new Pokemon Snap, and that sucks because this is like one of my favorite Pokemon games ever made. I think it's way better than almost any Pokemon game released in the last like 10 years. It is so much better than it has any right to be. It feels like the game I was waiting my entire life for. It's also like the best looking Pokemon game. Graphically, it actually is good looking. It doesn't have some shitty art style or tons of pop-in. No, it actually looks good. It has great music, and all around the presentation really comes together, and when it comes to what you're doing in this game, it really is an expansion on that original game. You're just taking photos of Pokemon, but there's so many different ways to take photos. You gotta actually try to catch them all on camera, and if you think about it, it's essentially a rail shooter, but it's a really fun one. There's also a bunch of little puzzles that basically show up here where you got to try to figure out how to get certain Pokemon to appear or get a certain way. There's tons of challenges you get, and you'll be playing through these levels over and over and over, and it was always a great time. There was a bunch of free DLC for the game as well, adding even more. Like, there's so many Pokemon to take photos of, and I remember just finding this game to be actually decently addicting. I was like, man, just one more quick little run, let me just try to get a few more. Like, I was really trying to get all of them, and then there's even bosses. These are great too. Like, there's so much good stuff to this game. People slept on this game so hard. They're like, you just take photos, that's it, it's stupid. No, it is more than that, trust me. This is one of the Pokemon GOATs. It's so much better than the original, and too many people just swept it under the rug as another stupid little spin-off. Yeah, it's probably the best-selling game of this entire list, but I would say the game is underrated. If you're somebody who loves Pokemon, but you just hate how the new games look and behave, or you're just super jaded about it, this might be the one to check out. Are you really surprised by this one? A list where I'm talking about the most underrated games of the 2020s and Bomb Rush Cyberpunk shows up? Of course you're not. Sometimes I'm as predictable as it gets, but predictable isn't always bad. And you know what else isn't bad? Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. I've glazed this game so hard, so many times at this point, I'm gonna keep things rather brief. It's an amazing, extreme sports game 3D platformer in the style of Jet Set Radio Future. While the story isn't as memorable as Jet Set, and the visuals certainly aren't for everybody, I absolutely adore this game. I love the controls, I love the feel, I love the trick system, the music goes so hard, the gameplay is incredibly enjoyable, the level design is great, and it all really comes together to be one of my favorite experiences of the 2020s. I recently went back to it actually for the birthday stream, and you know what? This game still slaps. It's still cinema, it's still so good. Absolutely go out of your way to try this. And so here we have Neo The World Ends With You. When this came out, I actually feel like there was a little bit of hype and Square Enix might have marketed it a little bit, but in the coming years, yeah, this game has just fallen off the radar completely, and that's a real shame. Now, I love the original World Ends With You. I thought it was really creative, it has some great music, and the story's actually really interesting. So when they announced a sequel, I was like, oh shit. I thought it was going to be super hype, so I got the game at release, played through the entire thing, and thought it was excellent. I thought that it was one of the best RPGs of the 2020s, full stop. And a lot of other people did as well. However, this game quickly fell out of the cultural zeitgeist. I barely saw anybody talking about it even a month after, and here we are, a few years later. A lot of people don't even know that a sequel ever even came out to the original, and Square Enix themselves confirmed that the game sold like ass, which is a real shame because I genuinely would still say that this is a great RPG. You don't need to have played the first game. Yes, there's a bunch of ties and connections to it, but it does have its own unique story and characters, and I think it's actually pretty good. It's really interesting. They continue the Reaper's game, and I found it to be wildly entertaining. I really like the characters, and I love the art style. This game has such a good vibe to it. Like, I genuinely really love the aesthetic, the mood, and everything that it's generally going for. I also dig the music. Like, the music is so good in this game. I'm still listening to the music nowadays. It's got one of the best soundtracks of any game from the 2020s. It is so good. And when it comes to the gameplay, you're not tapping all over the screen. Instead, they've linked all of your attacks to buttons. You get to actually really customize your playstyle and characters, and while the combat isn't superb, I think it's fine for the most part, and it was enjoyable enough. The game's structure is very similar to the first one as well, where you're just kind of running around Shibuya doing things and solving basic puzzles, but all of it comes together in such a creative and fun way that I have no problem recommending this, and I hate how terribly it sold. So here's another that I'm sure plenty of people are going to disagree with me about, but I have Gungrave Gore. Now, I always liked the Gungrave games. I'll be the first to admit that they are as mindless as it fucking gets, to the point where a lobotomized blind person could probably play through the game just pressing the right trigger over and over, but man, sometimes I'm really in the mood for a mindless ass game, and this is the perfect kind of game for that, and Gungrave Gore is probably the best in the entire series. This is absolutely a flawed game. It totally does have some serious issues, and I can see a lot of people not enjoying it. The train level's really annoying. When you play as anybody other than the main character, it's pretty annoying. If there's any platforming, it's just absolutely atrocious, and the game can get pretty repetitive, but man, sometimes this game can just be fun as hell when you're just holding down the right trigger, just blasting everything in sight, getting these crazy combos. I think the game can become pretty entertaining. There's plenty of good set pieces and levels here as well, and trying to get these really high combos tickles my monkey brain in a way that I can't really describe. This game in general just tickles my brain in a way I can't describe. I probably shouldn't like it. It has about as much depth as a puddle, and it can get as stale as some old expired milk, but for some reason, I really just find this game to be a hell of a lot of fun at times, and ultimately that's why I am recommending it, is because you can actually have fun with this game. It's not going to win any awards or make you critically think or really make you think at all, but you know, not every experience needs to make you think. Sometimes it's okay to play these more low-key mindless games, and if you're looking for a good one, this is certainly a good one. And I guess they're also remaking this game, completely from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. I don't know why. This game came out like 2 or 3 years ago, but they're remaking it. That's pretty sudden. But then here we have the last game for today with Sandland. This one came out last year, and I feel like it was pretty under the radar the entire year, and nowadays I don't hear fucking anybody talking about it. And that's also a shame because I thought this game was pretty decent. It actually had some pretty cool stuff to it. I have never seen the Sandland anime or read the manga or anything like that, so this was my first experience with Sandland as a property, and I gotta say, I really like the art style, I really like the characters. The story is actually really good in this game. The story is probably the best aspect of the game. It's really what kept me so hooked. I was quite enjoying the story, characters, dialogue, and just the world of Sandland in general. But when it comes to the gameplay, it's pretty decent here also. It's mostly a car combat game, which is like super rare these days. It's rare when any car combat game comes out, but yeah, this is a car combat action RPG. And while it doesn't reinvent the wheel or do anything exceptionally well, I think it all comes together to be a pretty enjoyable experience with a lot of little great things to it. Like there's some really cool boss fights, some of the vehicles are really fun to control, there's plenty of memorable moments, the end of the game starts to go pretty wild. It's got what I believe to be pretty solid pacing throughout, and the game isn't stupid long. It's not 30, 40, 50 hours. It's like a nice 15 to 20, maybe a little above 20 hours. And it tells a good little story. I saw plenty of people be like, oh, mid-anime game, who cares about this? I think it was a lot better than that, but maybe I'm just in the minority here. Either way, I do recommend Sandland. The game is pretty cheap at this point, like you could probably find it for under $20, and I totally think it's worth that. But hey, I totally think all of these games are worth playing, and so if you made it to this part of the video, thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it. Today's code word is going to be nuggets. I'm sure you can guess what I'm thinking of. With that in mind, I'll talk to you all later. Stay safe. Bye-bye.